Please subscribe to the channel to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. It started with the dreams, not just ordinary dreams, the kind you forget moments after waking. These were different, vivid, intense, hyper-real, like stepping into another dimension, another reality, a place both terrifying and strangely beautiful. I'm an artist, always have been. I see the world in colors, in shapes, in textures. I express myself through my paintings, through the images I create on canvas. It's my passion, my escape, my life. But lately, my art had taken a back seat to these dreams. They began, subtly, a few weeks ago. Flashes of strange landscapes, alien geometries, colors I'd never seen before. Colors that shouldn't even exist. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, my mind racing, the images still burning behind my eyelids. I'd try to shake them off, to dismiss them as just stress, or a bad pizza, or whatever. But they persisted, they grew stronger, and then the dreams started to influence my art. I'd find myself standing in front of my easel, brush in hand, with no conscious plan, no deliberate intention. My hand would move, guided by some unseen force, some impulse, born from the depths of my subconscious. Colors would flow onto the canvas, shapes would emerge, landscapes would take form. Landscapes from my dreams. At first I was fascinated, intrigued. The paintings were unlike anything I'd ever created before. They were raw, powerful, disturbing. They seemed to pulsate with a strange energy, a life of their own. I felt a connection to them, a deep, visceral connection, as if they were a part of me, a reflection of my soul. But the fascination soon turned to unease. The dreams were becoming more frequent, more intense, more demanding. I'd wake up exhausted, drained, as if I'd spent the night running a marathon or battling some unseen foe. And the paintings. They were becoming more than just images on canvas. They were becoming windows. I started to avoid sleep. I'd stay up late, drinking coffee, watching TV, anything to keep myself from drifting off, from falling back into that strange, terrifying world. But it was no use. The dreams were relentless. They hunted me, pursued me, drawing me back into their depths. I knew I needed help. I knew I couldn't handle this on my own. That's when I called Amelia. Dr. Amelia. Hart, she's a psychiatrist and a friend. I'd met her a few years ago at an art exhibition. We'd hit it off immediately, sharing a love of art, of psychology, of the mysteries of the human mind. I trusted her. I knew she wouldn't judge me, wouldn't dismiss me as crazy. I scheduled an appointment, telling her vaguely that I was having trouble sleeping, that I was experiencing disturbing dreams. I didn't tell her the whole truth, not yet. I was afraid she wouldn't believe me. I was afraid I wouldn't believe me. The first session was awkward. I sat in her comfortable office, surrounded by books and soft lighting, trying to describe the indescribable. I talked about the strange landscapes, the alien geometries, the colors that defied description. I talked about the feeling of dread, the sense of being watched, the presence that I felt in the dreams. Amelia listened patiently, her expression calm and professional. She asked questions, took notes, occasionally offering a gentle smile of encouragement. She didn't interrupt, she didn't judge, she just listened. "Ethan," she said, after I'd finished my rambling, incoherent explanation. "It sounds like you're experiencing some very vivid, very intense dreams. Nightmares, perhaps. They're clearly causing you a great deal of distress." "They're more than just nightmares, Amelia," I said, my voice shaking slightly. They're real. I know it sounds crazy, but I feel like I'm actually there, in those places." She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with a mixture of concern and curiosity. "I understand," she said, "and we're going to explore that. We're going to try to understand what's causing these dreams and what we can do to help you manage them. She suggested a few techniques: relaxation exercises, meditation, keeping a dream journal. She also prescribed a mild sleep aid to help me get some rest. I was skeptical, but I was willing to try anything. I left her office feeling a little better, a little less alone, a little less crazy. But the relief was short-lived. The dreams continued, unchanged, unrelenting. And the paintings were becoming more than just windows. They were becoming doors. I woke up one morning after a particularly vivid and disturbing dream to find a new painting on my easel. I hadn't consciously created it. I had no memory of even touching my brushes. But there it was, a swirling vortex of colors, a chaotic landscape of impossible shapes, a scene, straight from my dream. And as I stared at the painting, I felt it. A pull. A suction. As if the painting were trying to draw me in, to swallow me whole. I stumbled backward, away from the easel, so, heart pounding, my breath catching in my throat. I knew, with a certainty that defied logic, that something was terribly wrong. That my dreams were not just dreams. That my paintings were not just paintings. That they were something else. Something dangerous. Something cosmic. The awakening had begun, and I was terrified of where it would lead. The colors, the shapes, the landscapes, they were no longer just elements of my art. They were keys, unlocking a door to a reality I didn't understand. A reality that was now reaching out, with chilling intent, to claim me. The painting that had appeared on my easel, seemingly of its own volition, was a turning point. It wasn't just a representation of my dream. It felt like a piece of it. A fragment of that other reality, bleeding through into my own. The colors were unnervingly vibrant, the shapes disturbingly fluid, and the overall effect was deeply unsettling. It felt wrong, like a violation of the natural order. I couldn't bring myself to destroy it, though. Some morbid curiosity, some artistic pride, some connection prevented me. I felt drawn to it, compelled to study it, to understand it. Even as it filled me with dread, I continued to paint, driven by the relentless force of my dreams. Each night, I'd be plunged into that alien landscape, that cosmic abyss, and each morning, I'd wake up with a new image burning in my mind. An image I felt compelled to transfer onto canvas. The paintings were piling up in my studio, a growing collection of otherworldly landscapes, of impossible geometries, of colors that seemed to vibrate with an unnatural energy. Lucas, my best friend and the owner of the art gallery where I occasionally exhibited my work, noticed the change. He'd always been supportive of my art, even when it was less conventional. But these new paintings, they were something else. "Ethan, these are incredible," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of awe and bewilderment as he walked through my studio, surrounded by the vibrant canvases. "They're like nothing I've ever seen before. They're alive." "They feel alive," I agreed, my voice barely a whisper. "Too alive." Lucas looked at me, his expression shifting from admiration to concern. "You okay, man? You look exhausted. And these paintings, they're intense. Really intense." I hesitated, unsure of how much to tell him. I didn't want to sound crazy, to scare him away, but I also needed someone to talk to, someone who might understand, someone who might believe me. "Lucas," I said, my voice low and serious, "there's something strange going on. With my dreams, with my art. I don't know how to explain it." I told him everything. About the vivid, recurring dreams. About the alien landscapes. About the feeling of being watched. About the paintings that seemed to create themselves. I told him about the pull I felt from the canvases. The sense that they were more than just paintings. That they were portals. Lucas listened patiently, his expression shifting from skepticism to disbelief, to a grudging acceptance. He'd always been a bit of a conspiracy theorist, fascinated by the unexplained, by the paranormal. He didn't dismiss me as crazy. He didn't tell me it was all in my head. "Okay, wow," he said, after I'd finished my rambling explanation. "That's a lot to take in. But I believe you, Ethan. I've seen enough weird stuff in my life to know that anything is possible." He paused, then added with a mischievous grin, "And, these paintings, they're incredible. They're going to sell like hotcakes." I couldn't help but smile, despite the underlying dread I felt. Lucas, ever the pragmatist, was already thinking about the commercial potential of my otherworldly art. "We should exhibit them," he said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "A special exhibition. Visions from the void, or cosmic dreams, or something like that. It'll be huge." I was hesitant. I felt a deep unease about exposing the paintings to the public, about unleashing them on the world. But I also knew that Lucas was right. They were incredible. They deserved to be seen. And maybe, just maybe, someone else would recognize something in them. Something that would help me understand what was happening. We decided to go ahead with the exhibition. Lucas started making preparations, selecting the most striking and unsettling paintings, arranging the lighting, creating a promotional campaign. He was in his element, buzzing with energy and enthusiasm. The exhibition opened a few weeks later, and it was an immediate success. People were drawn to the paintings, mesmerized by their vibrant colors, their strange shapes, their otherworldly quality. Critics raved about them, calling them groundbreaking, revolutionary, a glimpse into another dimension. But as the exhibition progressed, strange things started to happen. Visitors reported feeling uneasy, disoriented, even nauseous, while standing in front of the paintings. Some claimed to see things moving in the canvases, shapes shifting, colors changing. Others reported hearing whispers, faint murmurs, coming from the paintings themselves. The gallery staff started to complain of headaches, fatigue, and disturbing dreams. Dreams that mirrored, with unsettling accuracy, the landscapes depicted in my paintings. Lucas, initially thrilled by the success of the exhibition, became increasingly concerned. He noticed the strange occurrences, he heard the complaints, and he saw the growing unease in the eyes of the visitors. "Ethan," he said, his voice filled with a mixture of worry and excitement, "something's happening. Something weird. Your paintings, they're not just art, they're doing something." I knew he was right. I could feel it too. The paintings were becoming more powerful, more active. The line between my dreams and reality was blurring, and the exhibition had only accelerated the process. The vivid paintings were no longer just reflections of my subconscious. They were becoming conduits, channels, gateways, and I had a terrifying feeling that I had opened a door that I couldn't close, that I had unleashed something ancient and powerful upon the world. The cosmic dream was becoming a cosmic nightmare, and I was at the center of it, the unwitting architect of a terrifying, unfolding reality. The strange occurrences at the gallery were escalating. It wasn't just whispers and feelings of unease anymore. Objects were moving on their own. Lights were flickering, and one visitor even claimed to have seen a shadowy figure emerge from one of the paintings before vanishing into thin air. Lucas was on the verge of shutting down the exhibition, but he was also, in a strange way, fascinated. He'd always been drawn to the paranormal, and this was the ultimate paranormal experience. He, on the other hand, was terrified. I knew that my paintings were the source of the disturbances, that they were acting as portals, allowing something else to bleed through into our reality. I felt responsible, guilty, and increasingly desperate to find a way to stop it. Amelia, my psychiatrist and friend, was becoming more involved. She'd initially approached my dreams as a psychological phenomenon, a manifestation of stress or trauma. But the reports from the gallery, combined with my increasingly frantic descriptions of my dreams, were making her reconsider. "Ethan," she said during one of our sessions, her expression serious and concerned, "I'm starting to think there's more to this than just subconscious activity, the consistency of the reports, the specific details. It's pointing to something external. External? I asked, my voice filled with a mixture of fear and hope. Hope that I wasn't crazy, that there was a real external explanation for what was happening. Yes, she said. Something. Influencing your dreams, influencing your art. Something beyond the realm of conventional psychology. She started to research, delving into obscure texts, exploring ancient myths and legends, searching for any reference to similar phenomena. She was venturing outside her comfort zone, outside the realm of established science. But she was driven by a desire to help me, to understand what was happening. One evening, Amelia called me, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "Ethan," she said, "I think I found something relevant. There are ancient texts from various cultures that describe entities, cosmic beings, that communicate through dreams. They're said to be incredibly powerful, capable of manipulating reality, of invading our world." "Invading?" I repeated, my heart pounding. "Like, through my paintings?" "Possibly," she said. "The texts describe these entities as using conduits, channels, portals to enter our dimension. Art, music, even certain types of architecture, they can all serve as potential gateways." My blood ran cold. It was exactly what I had feared. My paintings were portals, and I had opened them. Amelia suggested we work together, to combine our knowledge, to try to find a way to close the portals. She brought her research, her psychological expertise, her understanding of the human mind. I brought my art, my dreams, my connection to the entity. We started to meet regularly, spending hours poring over ancient texts, analyzing my paintings, comparing my dream experiences with the descriptions in the texts. We were like detectives, piecing together clues, trying to solve a mystery that spanned centuries, that spanned dimensions. Lucas, despite his initial excitement about the paranormal aspects, was becoming increasingly worried about the escalating events at the gallery. He'd witnessed some of the phenomena firsthand, and he was starting to realize the potential danger. "Ethan," he said, his voice serious and concerned. "We need to do something. This is getting out of hand. People are getting scared. Someone could get hurt." He agreed to join our investigation, bringing his practical skills, his knowledge of the art world, and his surprisingly extensive collection of books on the occult. He'd always been a bit of a closet nerd. The three of us, the artist, the psychiatrist, and the gallery owner, formed an unlikely team, united by a common goal: to understand the entity, to close the portals, to prevent the invasion. We focused our research on the specific entity described in Amelia's texts, a being known by various names throughout history, but most commonly referred to as Nyarlath. A cosmic entity, a messenger of the outer gods, a being of immense power and malevolence. The texts described Nyarlath as a shapeshifter, a manipulator, a being that fed on chaos and fear. It was said to be able to influence human minds, to control dreams, to alter reality itself. And it was said to be able to enter our world through portals created by art. The more we learned, the more terrifying the situation became. We were dealing with something far beyond our comprehension, something that threatened not just us, but the entire world. I started to examine my paintings more closely, searching for clues, for any sign of Nyarlath's influence, and I found it. Subtle details, hidden symbols, recurring patterns, all pointing to the entity's presence. It was as if Nyarlath were communicating through my art, using my paintings as a way to imprint itself on our reality, to prepare the way for its arrival. I realized with a chilling certainty that I wasn't just creating art. I was creating weapons. Weapons that could be used against us. Weapons that could destroy us all. The investigation had begun, but it was already clear that we were in a race against time, a race against an ancient cosmic evil that was slowly but surely seeping into our world, using my own creativity as its gateway. And I was the key, the unwitting accomplice, the artist whose dreams were becoming a nightmare for everyone. The realization that my paintings were not just portals, but weapons, was a turning point. I felt a crushing weight of responsibility, a guilt that threatened to consume me. I had unwittingly unleashed something terrible upon the world, and I had to find a way to stop it. Amelia, Lucas, and I continued our research, driven by a desperate need to understand Nyarlathotep, to learn its weaknesses, to find a way to defeat it. We spent countless hours poring over ancient texts, deciphering cryptic symbols, analyzing my paintings, and comparing our findings. The more we learned, the more terrifying Nyarlathotep became. It wasn't just a powerful entity. It was a deceiver, a manipulator, a being that thrived on chaos and suffering. It enjoyed toying with humans, twisting their minds, driving them to madness. And its ultimate goal, it seemed, was to reshape reality in its own image. My dreams became more frequent, more intense, more direct. Nyarlathotep was no longer just a shadowy presence, a lurking fear in the background. It was communicating with me. I'd find myself standing in those alien landscapes, surrounded by the impossible geometries, the vibrant, unsettling colors. And then Nyarlathotep would appear, sometimes as a swirling vortex of darkness, sometimes as a towering, multi-limbed creature, sometimes as a human with eyes that burned with a cold, malevolent light. "Ethan," the entity would whisper, its voice echoing through my mind, a voice that was both terrifying and seductive. "You are the key. You are the gateway. You are the artist." It would show me visions. Visions of a world transformed, a world reshaped in its image, a world of chaos and beauty, of terror and ecstasy. It would offer me power, knowledge, control. It would promise me everything, but I knew better. I knew that Nyarlathotep's promises were lies, that its gifts were poisoned, that its ultimate goal was not to create, but to destroy. I tried to resist, to fight back, to use my dreams as a weapon against it. But it was too powerful. It could manipulate my thoughts, twist my emotions, control my creations. One night, I dreamt I was standing in my studio, surrounded by my paintings. The paintings were alive, pulsating with a dark energy. And then Nyarlathotep emerged from one of the canvases, its form shifting, swirling, its eyes burning with that cold, malevolent light. "You cannot resist me, Ethan," it said, its voice a chilling whisper. "You are mine. Your art is mine. Your world will be mine." It reached out to me, its shadowy hand extending towards my face. I tried to scream, to fight back, but I was paralyzed, trapped in the nightmare, unable to move, unable to speak. And then I woke up. I was in my bed, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding, my mind racing. The dream had been so real, so vivid, so terrifying. I knew that Nyarlathotep was growing stronger, that its influence was spreading, that it was preparing to break through completely. I rushed to my studio, my hands trembling, my eyes scanning the paintings. They seemed different, darker, more menacing. And then I saw it. One of the paintings, the one Nyarlathotep had emerged from in my dream, was changing. The colors were swirling, the shapes were shifting, the canvas itself seemed to be rippling. It was happening. Nyarlathotep was coming. I grabbed a palette knife, my hand shaking, my mind filled with a desperate resolve. I had to destroy the painting. I had to destroy the portal. I had to stop it. But as I raised the knife, I hesitated. A voice, a whisper, echoed in my mind. "You cannot destroy me, Ethan," the voice said. "I am already here. I am everywhere." I looked around the studio, my eyes scanning the other paintings, and I saw it. They were all changing, all rippling, swirling, shifting. Nyarlathotep wasn't just coming through one portal. It was coming through all of them. I was surrounded. I was trapped. I had failed. The entity had been revealed, its intentions made clear, its power undeniable. And I, the artist, the dreamer, the key, was powerless to stop it. The cosmic nightmare had become a reality, and the world was on the brink of annihilation. My art, my passion, my escape had become the instrument of its destruction, and I was left with the chilling realization that I had not only opened the door to darkness, but I had also invited it in, welcomed it, given it the very tools it needed to consume everything. The realization that Nyarlathotep was coming through all of my paintings, not just one, left me paralyzed with fear. I was surrounded by portals, by gateways to an unimaginable horror, and I had no idea how to stop it. I felt utterly helpless, completely overwhelmed by the magnitude of the threat. Lucas and Amelia arrived at my studio shortly after, alerted by my frantic, incoherent phone call. They found me standing there, amidst the swirling, shifting canvases, the palette knife still clutched in my trembling hand. "Ethan, what's going on?" Lucas asked, his voice filled with alarm. "What happened?" I tried to explain, to tell them about the dream, about Nyarlathotep's imminent arrival, about the paintings that were all becoming portals, but the words caught in my throat, choked by fear and despair. Amelia, ever the pragmatist, took charge. She examined the paintings, her brow furrowed in concern, her eyes scanning the shifting colors, the distorted shapes. "They're active," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "All of them. It's like they're resonating with each other, amplifying each other. We need to destroy them," I said, my voice hoarse. "We need to destroy them all." "Wait, Ethan," Lucas said, his hand on my arm. "Destroying them might not be the answer. It might make things worse. We don't know what that would do." He was right. We didn't know what would happen if we destroyed the paintings. Would it close the portals, or would it unleash Nyarlathotep completely, shattering the already fragile barrier between dimensions? We were at an impasse. We knew the threat was real. We knew it was imminent, but we didn't know how to stop it. And then the situation escalated. A loud banging on the studio door startled us. I opened it cautiously, peering out into the hallway. A woman stood there, her expression stern, her badge displayed prominently. She was tall, with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. "Ethan Blackwood?" she asked, her voice firm and authoritative. "Yes," I said, my voice hesitant. "I'm Detective Victoria Clark," she said. "I'm here to investigate a series of unusual occurrences, disturbances, reported at your gallery." My heart sank. The events at the gallery, the whispers, the moving objects, the shadowy figure, they had attracted the attention of the police. I tried to explain, to tell her about the paintings, about the dreams, about Nyarlathotep, but the words sounded ridiculous, even to my own ears. I sounded like a madman, a delusional artist, a criminal. Detective Clark listened patiently, her expression unreadable. She took notes, asked questions, occasionally glancing at the paintings that surrounded us. "Mr. Blackwood," she said, after I'd finished my rambling explanation. "I understand. You've been under a lot of stress lately, and I appreciate your cooperation. But I need you to be honest with me. Are you responsible for these disturbances?" "It's complicated," I said, my voice shaking. "It's not me, not directly. It's the paintings. They're portals. To another dimension. To something evil." Detective Clark raised an eyebrow, a hint of skepticism in her eyes. "Portals," she repeated. "To another dimension?" "Yes," I said, my voice desperate. "I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. You have to believe me." She sighed, a long, drawn-out sound. "Mr. Blackwood," she said, "I'm going to have to ask you to come down to the station with me for further questioning." I knew it. I knew she wouldn't believe me. I knew she thought I was crazy, or worse, that I was responsible for the strange events. But as I was about to protest, Amelia stepped forward. "Detective," she said, her voice calm and authoritative, I'm Dr. Amelia Hart. I'm Mr. Blackwood's psychiatrist, and I can assure you that he's not delusional. He's experiencing something very real, something very dangerous. Detective Clark looked at Amelia, her expression shifting slightly. She seemed to recognize Amelia's name, to respect her. Professional standing. Dr. Hart, she said. I appreciate your input, but I still need to investigate this matter thoroughly. There have been reports of property damage, of possible assaults. I have a duty to... Before she could finish her sentence, one of the paintings behind us exploded. Not literally exploded, but erupted. A swirling vortex of colors burst forth from the canvas, expanding rapidly, filling the studio with a blinding light and a deafening roar. We all stumbled backward, shielding our eyes, our ears ringing. The studio shook, the walls trembled, the air crackled with energy, and then, as quickly as it had begun, it stopped. The light faded, the roar subsided, the shaking ceased. We stood there, stunned, disoriented, our hearts pounding in our chests. The painting that had erupted was gone. The canvas was blank, empty, as if the image had been erased. And in its place, standing in the center of the studio, was a figure. It was tall, shadowy, its form shifting and swirling, its eyes burning with a cold, malevolent red light. It was Nyarlath. Detective Clark stared at the figure, her mouth agape, her eyes wide with disbelief and terror. She reached for her weapon, her hand trembling, but she seemed frozen, unable to move, unable to speak. Nyarlath turned its gaze towards us, its shadowy face contorting into a chilling smile. You called, Detective? It said, its voice a low, guttural whisper that seemed to echo through the very air. I believe you have some questions. The detective's involvement had complicated matters, but it had also, inadvertently, provided proof. Proof that my claims were not the ramblings of a madman, but a terrifying reality. We were no longer alone in our fight, but we were also facing a threat that was now fully unleashed, fully present, and fully aware of us. The game had changed, the stakes had been raised, and we were running out of time. Nyarlath was here, and it was ready to play. Nyarlath's arrival, dramatic and terrifying, had at least one positive outcome. It convinced Detective Clark. Seeing a shadowy, shape-shifting entity emerge from a blank canvas tends to shatter preconceived notions about reality. She was still reeling, understandably, but she was no longer skeptical. She was terrified, but also, strangely, determined. Okay, she said, her voice shaking slightly but firm. I don't know what that is, but it's clearly not natural, and it's clearly dangerous. We need a plan. That one word changed everything. We weren't alone anymore. We had an ally, someone with authority, someone with resources, someone who could help. We retreated from the studio, leaving Nyarlath to whatever it was doing. The entity seemed content to remain there, for the moment, as if it were consolidating its power, acclimating to our reality. We gathered in my apartment, a safer distance from the immediate threat, and began to strategize. It felt surreal, sitting around my kitchen table, discussing how to defeat a cosmic entity, like some kind of bizarre, impromptu council of war. We know it uses the paintings as portals, Amelia said, her voice thoughtful. We know it feeds on fear and chaos, and we know it's incredibly powerful. We also know it can be contained, I added, remembering Margaret Ainsworth's diary. The amulet, it's the key. But we don't have the amulet, Lucas pointed out, and we don't know where it is. We have a drawing of it, I said, pulling out Sarah White's diary, showing them the sketch. And we know it was originally in the Ainsworth house, in the cavern. Maybe it's still there, Detective Clark suggested. Hidden somewhere, or maybe someone else found it. That was a possibility. Someone else could have discovered the amulet, unwittingly or deliberately. Someone who might be using it, or being used by it. We decided to split our efforts. Detective Clark would use her resources to investigate the Ainsworth family history, searching for any living relatives, any records of the amulet, any clue that might lead us to its current location. Amelia, Lucas, and I would focus on the entity itself. We needed to learn more about Nyarlath, about its weaknesses, about its limitations. We needed to find a way to fight back, to defend ourselves, to survive. We returned to the ancient texts, the obscure lore, the cryptic symbols. We searched for any mention of the amulet, any reference to rituals, any information that might help us. We discovered that the amulet was not just a key, but a focus, a device that could channel and amplify psychic energy, that could be used to control or even banish entities like Nyarlath. But we also discovered something else, something disturbing. The text described Nyarlath as a messenger, a herald of the outer gods, ancient cosmic beings of unimaginable power and malevolence, beings that existed beyond our comprehension, beyond our reality. Nyarlath, it seemed, was not the ultimate threat. It was merely a precursor, a harbinger of something far worse. The realization sent a chill down my spine. We were not just fighting a single entity. We were fighting a cosmic invasion, a slow, insidious creep of darkness into our world, and my paintings, my art, had opened the door. I felt a renewed sense of urgency, a desperate need to find the amulet, to stop Nyarlath, to prevent the arrival of whatever else it was heralding. We decided to focus on the practical, on the immediate threat. We needed to find the amulet, and we needed to find a way to weaken Nyarlath, to make it vulnerable. Amelia suggested a radical idea. "Ethan," she said, "you can control your dreams. You can manipulate them. You've done it before." She was right. I had, on occasion, managed to exert some control over my dreams, to change the landscapes, to resist Nyarlath's influence. But it was always a struggle, always exhausting, always dangerous. "What are you suggesting?" I asked. "I'm suggesting that you confront Nyarlath in your dreams," she said. "That you use your dreams as a battleground. That you try to weaken it, to disrupt its connection to our reality." It was a risky plan, a desperate gamble. But it was also our only hope, I agreed. I knew it was dangerous, that I was risking my sanity, my soul, perhaps. But I had to try. I had to do everything I could to stop Nyarlath, to protect my friends, to save the world. The search for answers had led us to a terrifying conclusion. The only way to fight a cosmic horror was to enter its realm, to confront it on its own terms. And I, the artist, the dreamer, was the only one who could do it. The battle was about to begin. A battle not of flesh and blood, but of mind and spirit. A battle for the very fabric of reality. Amelia's suggestion, to confront Nyarlath in my dreams, was terrifying, but it also felt right. It was the only way I could directly engage with the entity. The only way I could potentially weaken it, disrupt its connection to our reality. It was a desperate gamble, a descent into madness. But it was our best, perhaps our only, hope. We prepared meticulously. Amelia guided me through relaxation techniques, visualization exercises, and meditation practices, designed to enhance my lucidity, my control, my power within the dream realm. Lucas, ever the practical one, set up a safe room in my apartment, removing any sharp objects, padding the walls, ensuring that I wouldn't inadvertently harm myself while I was under. Detective Clark, meanwhile, continued her investigation into the Ainsworth family and the amulet, providing us with updates and offering her surprisingly insightful observations on the nature of the entity, based on her brief but intense encounter. "It's like... it's not entirely here," she said, her voice thoughtful. "It's flickering, shifting, like it's struggling to maintain, its form in our reality. That observation gave us a glimmer of hope. Nyarlath might be powerful, but it wasn't invincible. It was bound by certain rules, certain limitations, and if we could exploit those limitations, we might have a chance. The night of the confrontation arrived, and I felt a mixture of dread and determination. I knew I was walking into a trap, that I was facing an entity of unimaginable power and malevolence. But I also knew that I had to do it. For Emma, for Lucas, for Amelia, for Detective Clark, for the world. I lay down on the bed in the safe room, surrounded by soft pillows and blankets. Amelia sat beside me, her hand resting gently on my arm, her voice calm and reassuring. "Just relax, Ethan," she said. "Focus on your breathing. Visualize the landscape. Control the dream." I closed my eyes, taking deep, slow breaths, trying to clear my mind, to focus my intention. I visualized the alien landscape, the swirling colors, the impossible geometries, the place where I had encountered Nyarlath before. And then, I was there. I was standing in the dream realm, surrounded by the familiar, yet unsettling scenery. The sky was a swirling vortex of colors I couldn't name. The ground beneath my feet was a shifting mosaic of impossible shapes, and the air hummed with a strange, unsettling energy. I knew Nyarlath was there somewhere, watching me, waiting for me. "Nyarlath," I shouted, my voice echoing through the dreamscape. "I know you're here! Show yourself!" The landscape shifted, the colors swirled, and then Nyarlath appeared. It stood before me, towering and shadowy, its form constantly shifting, its eyes burning with that cold, malevolent red light. "Ethan," it said, its voice a chilling whisper that seemed to penetrate my very being. "You have come to your doom." "I'm not afraid of you," I said, my voice trembling slightly but firm. "I know what you are. I know your weaknesses." Nyarlath laughed, a low, guttural sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You know nothing," it hissed. "You are a mere mortal, a fleeting spark in the vastness of eternity. You cannot comprehend my power, my purpose. Your purpose is to destroy," I said, "to consume, to reshape reality in your image. But you won't succeed. I won't let you." I focused my will, my intention, drawing on the techniques Amelia had taught me. I visualized a barrier, a wall of light surrounding me, protecting me from Nyarlath's influence. The barrier shimmered into existence, a faint, ethereal glow that pushed back the darkness, the swirling colors, the chaos. Nyarlath recoiled slightly, its shadowy form flickering, its red eyes narrowing. "You resist?" it said, its voice filled with surprise and anger. "Yes," I said. "I resist, and I will defeat you." I knew I couldn't defeat Nyarlath with brute force. I had to use my creativity, my imagination, my art against it. I visualized my paintings, the images I had created, the portals I had opened. But this time, I changed them. I transformed them. I turned them from gateways into prisons. The landscape around me began to shift, to morph, to solidify. The swirling colors coalesced into recognizable shapes, the impossible geometries became walls, barriers, cages. I was trapping Nyarlath, confining it, limiting its power. The entity roared in fury, its shadowy form thrashing, its red eyes burning with hatred. It tried to break free, to shatter the barriers I was creating. But it was too late. I was in control. I was the artist, the creator, the master of this dream realm. And I was using my power to imprison the cosmic horror that had threatened to consume my world. The confrontation was a battle of wills, a clash of realities, a struggle between chaos and order, between darkness and light. And for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that I might actually win. The dream realm, once a source of terror, had become my weapon, my canvas, my battleground. and I was determined to use it to its full potential, to protect my world from the encroaching nightmare. The dream realm was now my canvas, and I, the artist, was wielding my imagination as a weapon. I was reshaping the chaotic landscape, transforming Nyarlath's domain into a prison of my own making. Walls of shimmering light, barriers of solid color, cages of intricate geometry. I was containing the entity, restricting its movements, limiting its power. But Nyarlath was not easily defeated. It was an ancient being, a cosmic entity of immense power and cunning. It fought back with a ferocity that was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. It lashed out with tendrils of darkness, shattering the walls I created, tearing through the barriers, trying to break free from my control. It sent waves of fear and despair washing over me, attempting to overwhelm my senses, to break my concentration. "You cannot contain me, Ethan," it roared, its voice echoing through the dreamscape, a voice filled with rage and desperation. "I am infinite. I am eternal." "You are trapped," I countered, my voice firm, despite the fear that gnawed at my insides. "You are bound by my will, by my art." I focused my intention, strengthening the barriers, repairing the damage, reinforcing the prison I was creating. I visualized new forms, new defenses, new weapons. I created swirling vortexes of light, designed to disorient and confuse the entity. I summoned shimmering shields of energy to deflect its attacks. I conjured creatures, beings of pure imagination, to harass and distract it. The battle raged, a cosmic clash of wills, a struggle between two opposing forces. The dream realm itself seemed to shudder and crack under the strain, the colors swirling, the shapes shifting, the very fabric of reality, bending and breaking. I was pushing myself to my limits, straining my mental and emotional resources. I could feel my control slipping, my focus wavering, my strength fading. Nyarlath sensed my weakness. It redoubled its efforts, its attacks becoming more frequent, more powerful, more desperate. It began to target my memories, my fears, my insecurities. It showed me visions of my past failures, my deepest regrets, my most profound anxieties. Saw my parents, their faces filled with disappointment. I saw my ex-girlfriend, her eyes filled with anger and betrayal. I saw my own artwork, ridiculed and dismissed, my dreams shattered, my aspirations crushed. The visions were overwhelming, threatening to consume me, to break my spirit, to destroy my will to fight. "You are nothing, Ethan," Nyarlath hissed, its voice a venomous whisper in my mind. "You are weak. You are insignificant. You will fail." I stumbled, my concentration broken, my defenses weakened. The barriers I had created began to crumble. The cages began to crack. The creatures I had summoned began to fade. Nyarlath seized the opportunity. It lunged towards me, its shadowy form expanding, its red eyes burning with triumph. "Now you are mine," it roared. I closed my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. I had failed. I had lost. I had doomed us all. But then I felt a surge of something, a warmth, a strength, a connection. I opened my eyes, and I saw them, Amelia, Lucas, and Detective Clark. They were standing beside me, in the dream realm, their forms shimmering and translucent, but real. "You're not alone, Ethan," Amelia said, her voice calm and reassuring. "We're with you," Lucas added, his voice filled with determination. "Kick its ass," Detective Clark said, a grim smile on her face. I didn't know how they were there, how they had entered my dream, but I didn't question it. I just accepted it. I accepted their presence, their support, their strength. And I felt my own strength return. Renewed. Amplified. I focused my will, my intention, drawing on the power of their presence, on the bond of friendship, on the hope that they represented. The barriers I had created reformed, stronger than before. The cages tightened. The creatures returned, fiercer and more determined. Nyarlath recoiled, surprised, its shadowy form flickering, its red eyes widening in disbelief. Impossible, it hissed. You cannot. We can, I said, my voice firm, my voice, our voice. We are together, and we will stop you. The battle resumed, but the tide had turned. We were no longer fighting alone. We were fighting as a team, as a unit, as a force. Amelia used her knowledge of psychology, of the human mind, to disrupt Nyarlath's attempts to manipulate my emotions, to exploit my fears. Lucas used his creativity, his imagination, to conjure new defenses, new obstacles, new traps. Detective Clark, surprisingly, used her combat skills. She manifested a shimmering, ethereal weapon, a blade of pure light, and she engaged Nyarlath in direct combat. Her movements swift and precise, her attacks surprisingly effective, and I, the artist, the dreamer, the key, continued to reshape the dream realm, to confine the entity, to weaken it. The cosmic battle raged on, a symphony of light and darkness, of chaos and order, of fear and hope. We were fighting for our lives, for our minds, for our world, and we were, against all odds, starting to win. The setback had been overcome, not through individual strength, but through unity, through the power of human connection, a power that even a cosmic entity couldn't fully comprehend. The dream realm was still a battleground, but it was now our battleground, and we were determined to emerge victorious. The combined power of Amelia, Lucas, Detective Clark, and myself, even within the dream realm, was proving surprisingly effective against Nyarlath. The entity, accustomed to manipulating individual minds, seemed to struggle against a unified front, a collective will. Its attacks became less focused, its form flickered more frequently, and its voice, once filled with chilling confidence, now held a distinct note of frustration. However, we weren't winning. We were holding our own, delaying the inevitable, perhaps, but Nyarlath was still immensely powerful. The dream realm itself was beginning to fray, to unravel, under the strain of the cosmic battle. Cracks were appearing in the impossible landscapes, the vibrant colors were fading, and a sense of disintegration was permeating everything. I realized with a sinking feeling that we couldn't sustain this indefinitely. The dream realm was collapsing, and if it collapsed completely, it would likely take us, and possibly reality itself, with it. We needed a way to end the battle, a way to decisively defeat Nyarlath, a way to banish it from our reality. And then, it hit me. The paintings. My paintings. They were the portals, the gateways, the anchors that were holding Nyarlath to our world. If I could sever that connection, if I could destroy the portals. But how? Destroying them in the real world hadn't worked. Nyarlath had simply manifested through all of them simultaneously. The answer, I realized, lay in the dream realm itself. Here, I had control. Here, I could manipulate reality, reshape the landscape, create and destroy at will. I focused my intention, drawing on all my remaining strength, on the combined power of my friends. I visualized my paintings, all of them, every single canvas, that had served as a portal for Nyarlath, and then I began to uncreate them. One by one, I imagined the paintings dissolving, disintegrating, vanishing into nothingness. The vibrant colors faded, the intricate shapes blurred, the canvases themselves unraveled, thread by thread, until there was nothing left. It was a painful process, like tearing apart a piece of my own soul. Each painting represented hours of work, of inspiration, of connection to that other reality. But I knew it was necessary. It was the only way. As each painting vanished in the dream realm, I felt a corresponding weakening of Nyarlath's presence. Its shadowy form flickered more violently, its red eyes dimmed, its voice became fainter. "No!" it roared, its voice a desperate fading echo. "You cannot destroy my connection." "I can," I said, my voice firm, despite the exhaustion that was threatening to overwhelm me. "And I will." I continued the process, uncreating painting after painting, severing connection after connection, pushing Nyarlath further and further, away from our reality, Amelia, Lucas, and Detective Clark supported me, their presence a constant source of strength and encouragement. They maintained their defenses, protecting me from Nyarlath's desperate final attacks. Finally, only one painting remained. The first one. The one that had appeared on my easel, seemingly of its own volition. The painting that had started it all. It was the most powerful, the most resistant. I could feel Nyarlath's essence clinging to it, fighting to maintain its hold on our world. I focused all my remaining energy, all my will, all my artistic power on that final canvas. I visualized it dissolving, disintegrating, vanishing into the void, but it wouldn't budge. It was stuck, as if something were holding it in place. Then I understood. It wasn't just the painting. It was the act of creation, the initial act of bringing the image from the dream realm into reality. That act had created a bond, a connection, that was stronger than the physical canvas itself. To truly destroy the portal, I had to undo the creation. Not just in the dream realm, but in reality. I opened my eyes. I was back in the safe room, my body weak and trembling, my mind exhausted. But I knew what I had to do. The paintings, I whispered, my voice hoarse. We need to destroy them. In the real world. Amelia, Lucas, and Detective Clark, startled by my sudden awakening, looked at me with concern. "Ethan, are you okay?" Amelia asked. "We need to destroy the paintings," I repeated, my voice gaining strength. "All of them. Now." They didn't question me. They trusted me. They knew somehow that I was right. We rushed to my studio, our hearts pounding, our minds racing. The paintings were still there, still active, but they seemed weaker, less vibrant, less menacing. Without hesitation, we began to destroy them. We smashed the canvases, ripped the fabric, burned the frames. It was a brutal, destructive act, a violation of everything I held dear as an artist. But it was necessary. As each painting was destroyed, I felt a corresponding release of energy, a lessening of the pressure, a fading of the darkness. Finally, only one painting remained. The first one. The one I had tried to destroy before. The one that had resisted my efforts in the dream realm. I stood before it, my hands trembling, my heart aching. This painting, it was more than just a portal. It was a part of me, a reflection of my soul. But I knew what I had to do. I raised my hand, and with a single decisive motion, I destroyed it. A wave of energy surged through the studio, a blinding flash of light, a deafening roar, and then silence. The paintings were gone, the portals were closed, Nyarlath was banished. The artistic sacrifice had been made. The world, our world, was safe. But the cost was immense. My art, my passion, my connection to that other reality was gone. Forever. The battle had been won, but the victory was bittersweet, a testament to the terrible choices that sometimes must be made to protect the greater good. The dream realm was silent, the canvases were empty, and I, the artist, was left with the daunting task of rebuilding, of redefining my purpose, of finding a new way to express the colors that still, faintly, shimmered in the depths of my mind. The silence that followed the destruction of the final painting was profound. It was a silence not just of sound, but of presence. The oppressive weight of Nyarlath, the chilling whispers, the unsettling feeling of being watched. All of it was gone. It was as if a heavy, suffocating blanket had been lifted from the world. We stood there, amidst the wreckage of my studio, amidst the shattered remnants of my art, exhausted, drained, but relieved. We had done it. We had faced a cosmic horror, and we had survived. Amelia, Lucas, and Detective Clark looked at me, their expressions a mixture of relief, concern, and awe. "It's over?" Lucas asked, his voice hesitant. "Yes," I said, my voice hoarse but firm. "It's over." Detective Clark, ever the pragmatist, began to assess the situation. She surveyed the damage, took notes, and surprisingly, didn't ask any questions about the method of our victory. She seemed to understand, on some level, that this was beyond the realm of conventional law enforcement, beyond the realm of explanation. "We'll need to clean this up," she said, her voice surprisingly calm, "and come up with a story, a plausible explanation." We nodded, knowing that the truth, the real truth, would never be revealed. It was too incredible, too terrifying, too dangerous. The next few days were a blur of activity. We cleaned up the studio, disposing of the remnants of the paintings, trying to erase any trace of the battle that had taken place. We fabricated a story, a clumsy but hopefully convincing explanation for the damage. A gas leak, an electrical fire, something mundane. The police investigation was closed, officially ruled as an accident. Detective Clark, I suspected, knew more than she let on. But she kept her silence, protecting us, protecting the world from a truth it wasn't ready to face. Emma Thompson, as far I know, was never related to my issue. Amelia continued to provide support, helping me to process the trauma, to cope with the loss of my art, to rebuild my life. Lucas, ever the optimist, started planning a new exhibition, showcasing different artists. He understood, without me having to say it, that my art, my previous art, was gone forever. And I was left with the silence. The silence of the dream realm, the silence of my studio, the silence of my soul. I tried to paint, to create, to express myself, but it was different. The colors seemed dull, the shapes seemed lifeless, the images empty. The connection was gone. The portal was closed, and a part of me, a vital part of me, had been severed. I was no longer the artist I once was. I was no longer the dreamer, the gateway, the Taki. I was just Ethan. But as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, I began to heal. The nightmares faded, the fear subsided, the emptiness began to fill. I started to see the world differently. I started to appreciate the simple things, the ordinary things, the things I had taken for granted before. The beauty of a sunset, the sound of laughter, the warmth of human connection, and I started to create again. Not the same way, not with the same intensity, not with the same connection to that other reality, but with a new perspective, a new appreciation for the beauty and fragility of this world. My art was different now. It was calmer, more grounded, more human. I painted landscapes, portraits, still lifes, ordinary subjects, rendered with an extraordinary attention to detail, to light, to color. I painted the faces of my friends, Amelia, Lucas, even Detective Clark. I painted the places I loved, the scenes that brought me peace, the moments that filled me with hope. And as I painted, I realized that I hadn't lost my art. I had transformed it. I had sacrificed the old, the dangerous, the cosmic, to make way for something new, something real. The nightmares were gone. The dreams were quiet. I was no longer haunted by the entity, by the darkness, by the other. I was free. But I would never forget. I would never forget the battle, the sacrifice, the truth that I had glimpsed, and I would always remember the lesson I had learned, that even in the darkest of times, even in the face of the most terrifying horrors, there is always hope. There is always strength. There is always the power of human connection. The end of the nightmares was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. A new beginning, a new chapter, a new canvas. And I, the artist, was ready to paint it with colors brighter, bolder, and more real than ever before. The cosmic dream had ended, but the human dream, the dream of life, of love, of art, continued, stronger and more vibrant than ever. And that, I realized, was the greatest victory of all.